with a shotgun to the throat. Morbid Facts, Part 53. Frankie Muniz has had 9 concussions throughout his life and now suffers from severe memory loss. His condition is so bad that he doesn't even remember being on the TV show Malcolm in the Middle. According to ancient beliefs, birthmarks show how you were killed in your past life. A man named Michael Paul was on his way home from church when he decided to casually crack his neck like any other time. But afterwards, he suddenly started sweating profusely and then went pale. By the time Paul could receive medical care, he had already slipped into a coma. Soon afterwards, Michael Paul had died from cracking his neck. Morbid Facts, Part 40. In 1944, 14-year-old George Stinney Jr. was the youngest person ever to be executed in the United States. He was given the electric chair after being accused of murdering 2 young girls in South Carolina. He was exonerated 70 years after his execution in 2014 when a court ruled that he had not received a fair trial. David Reimer was a Canadian man who was raised as a girl after a botched circumcision led to a sex reassignment surgery before he was 2. Upon realizing he was not a girl, Reimer started living as a male at age 15. But after years of suffering from severe depression, he committed suicide at age 38. Weird Disappearances, Part 1. In 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving to a friend's party when he crashed his car into a ditch. He called his dad to come pick him up, but he couldn't find him, despite knowing the area very well. Eventually, Brandon started walking and said he was approaching something that looked like a city up the road. Suddenly, Brandon yelled, "Oh shit!" and his phone went silent. His car was later found abandoned in the ditch, just as he had described it. But no city could have been anywhere near the area he was walking in. Brandon Swanson is still missing to this day, with very little evidence found since. Weird Crime Facts, Part 16. In 2008, robbery convict Renee Lima Marin was accidentally released from prison 90 years early. Following the accidental release, he got a job, got married, and had kids. He also coached youth soccer and was very active in his local church. But when authorities noticed the errors 6 years later, they sent him back to prison to serve out the rest of his sentence. In the 1950s, there was a serial killer in Thailand who was so feared by the people that he was publicly executed. Afterwards, he was put on display in a glass box so that everyone could see that he was really dead. You can still publicly view his body today. Morbid Facts, Part 45. After 9/11, the rescue dogs searching in the rubble started to become depressed because they weren't finding any live bodies. Rescue workers started to bury themselves in the debris to trick the dogs into thinking they were saving people. It is estimated that just over 100 billion people have died on the planet to date. In 1971, high school student Juliana Kopka was sucked out of an airplane after it was struck by lightning. She fell nearly 10,000 feet still strapped to her chair and lived, only to endure an 11-day walk through the Amazon rainforest to the nearest civilization. She was eventually rescued by some local lumbermen and ended up being the sole survivor of the plane crash. Weird Disappearances, Part 2. In the year 2000, 18-year-old Zeb Quinn went missing after finishing his shift at a Walmart in North Carolina. His car was discovered 2 weeks later in a restaurant parking lot under mysterious circumstances. Its headlights were still on, a big pair of lips were drawn on the back windshield with red lipstick, and a live Labrador puppy was found inside the car. But otherwise, very little evidence has been found, and Zeb Quinn remains missing to this day. In 1979, a 13-year-old girl named Diane Dye told her friend that she was gonna run away for a few days. Since her parents were getting divorced, Diane thought this would bring them back together. So she did what she said but never came back, and she remains missing more than 40 years later. Morbid Facts, Part 39. A 19-year-old girl named Olga was camping with her stepfather in Russia when a mother brown bear attacked them. After the bear broke her stepfather's neck and smashed his skull, Olga attempted to flee. But the bear chased her down and soon grabbed her by the legs and started mauling her. Olga then managed to make 3 phone calls to her mother while being eaten alive by the bear and her 3 cubs. In the first phone call, she screamed, "Mom, the bear is eating me. Mom, it's such agony. Mom, help." At first, her mother thought it was a joke, but soon heard the true horror in her daughter's voice and the sound of bears growling and chewing. But she could only helplessly listen in horror to her daughter's screams for mercy. Nearly an hour later, the bears had left her, but Olga knew she was gonna die. She said, "Mom, I don't feel the pain anymore. Forgive me for everything. I love you so much." Morbid Facts, Part 54. Conduct. Morbid Facts, Part 41. After her daughter died of yellow fever in 1872, a heartbroken mother wanted to make sure that her daughter was never alone in times of need. Since the daughter was terrified of storms, the grave was constructed with an entrance leading to a staircase that descends to her coffin. During thunderstorms, the mother would go to the graveyard and enter the tomb to comfort her child. Convicted rapists in Saudi Arabia are often executed by public beheadings. Disney's first water park, called River Country, closed in 2001 after an 11-year-old boy died from a brain-eating parasite he got in the lake. The park still lies completely abandoned to this day. Weird Crime Facts, Part 17. In 2015, a man dressed as Darth Vader walked into a Swedish high school carrying a sword. Believing it to be some kind of joke, a number of students posed with him for pictures. But after the cameras were put away, he pulled out his sword and suddenly went on a rampage, killing 2 students and injuring several more. David Parker Ray, aka the Toy Box Killer, abducted his victims before drugging them. When they woke up, they were played a recording in which he would describe the torture that they'd experience over the next 30 days. He is believed to have tortured and killed more than 50 women in his soundproof trailer. Morbid Facts, Part 51. In 2013, a Nigerian chef survived in a sunken ship for nearly 3 days. It was 270 feet deep in pitch black water, and he said the only thing he could hear was the sound of fish eating the corpses of his shipmates. It is estimated that up to 2 million German women were raped by Soviet soldiers following World War II. In an attempt to Weird War Facts, Part 9. In 1964, the U.S. Army performed an experiment to see if 3 young physics students could design an atomic bomb. They had no specific knowledge of nuclear weapons and were only given access to publicly available documents. Within 3 years, they succeeded. Over 160 years ago, a Frenchman and a Russian shot at each other during the Crimean War and their bullets collided. During World War II, a Nazi officer ordered his soldiers to hold their fire to allow for the rescue of an American soldier who had stepped on a landmine. When no one came for help, the officer went to rescue the soldier but stepped on a landmine himself. Morbid Facts, Part 43. Seth MacFarlane and Mark Wahlberg were both booked to fly on American Airlines Flight 11, the first plane that crashed into the World Trade Center on 9/11. Wahlberg decided last minute to fly to Toronto instead, while MacFarlane missed the flight by 10 minutes due to a hangover. Both have said they've had countless dreams of the scenario in which they got on that plane. During the Holocaust, famous Jewish boxer Shlomo Aruch was forced to fight fellow prisoners at Auschwitz. It was merely for the entertainment of Nazi officers, and the losers would be sent to the gas chambers. Aruch survived over 200 fights over a 2-year span and was freed when the camp was liberated. Morbid Facts, Part 57. There's a pair of conjoined twins whose brains are so intertwined that they share each other's senses. One can see what the other sees, taste what the other tastes, and feel what the other feels. If you hit someone with your car in China, you have to pay for their medical care. But killing someone with your car in China is just a one-time fine. For this reason, people have gone back to kill the person that they accidentally hit. The Roman Emperor Nero accidentally killed his pregnant wife by kicking her to death. He then found a young boy who looked exactly like her, castrated him, and married him. Weird Nature Facts, Part 16. In 2005, an Ethiopian girl was being brutally beaten by 7 men when a pride of lions chased them away. They even stayed with her until help arrived. Some experts say the lions might have spared the girl because her crying sounded like the meowing of lion cubs. Other experts suggest that they were just getting ready to eat her when authorities arrived. About 400 million years ago, before trees dominated the landscape, the earth was covered with giant mushrooms. In 1986, an Indian man set a world record by spending 72 hours in a cage with 72 of the world's most venomous snakes. He was seeking to spread awareness that snakes don't bite unless provoked. He came out of the cage unharmed without a single bite. Morbid facts. Instantly. When Pablo Escobar's daughter wanted a unicorn, he bought her a horse and stapled a cone to its head and wings to its back. The horse died a week later due to severe infections. In 1984, a woman started hearing a voice in her head. The voice told her she had a brain tumor, where the tumor was, and how to treat it. Despite no other symptoms, the doctors ordered tests and found the tumor right where the voice said it would be. Morbid facts, part 47. Flipper was a popular TV series in the 1960s featuring. The traditional last meal for inmates on death row did not begin as a final compassionate act for them. It was otherwise an attempt to bribe their ghosts to not haunt the executioners. Nicknamed the Russian Bird Boy, Vanya Yudin was kept isolated by his mother in a room full of birds in cages. When he was rescued in 2008 at the age of 7, he could only communicate by chirping and flapping his arms. Weird movie facts, part 1. Johnny Depp said he based his depiction of Willy Wonka on how he imagined former President George W. Bush to act while stoned. This is what the set of the original black and white Addams Family TV show looked like in color. The actor who played Danny in The Shining didn't know it was a horror movie until he was done with filming. He was led to believe that he was just filming a drama movie of a family that lives in a hotel. A group of psychologists studied 400 movies to find the most realistic psychopath, and the winner was Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. They said that he seems to be effectively invulnerable and resistant to any form of humanity or emotion. Weird war facts, part 8. During World War I, Hungarian soldier Paul Kern was shot in the head and lost part of his frontal lobe. However, instead of killing him, the gunshot otherwise made him unable to sleep. And as a result, the man stayed awake for the next 40 years until his death in 1955. A few doctors theorized that Kern likely fell asleep for seconds at a time throughout the day without even realizing it. Other doctors believed that the bullet tore away the part of his brain that needed to be replenished by sleep. But to this day, researchers still can't explain how he was able to survive for so long without sleeping. Morbid facts, part 49. This is the tomb of little Merritt Beardsley, an 8-year-old boy who died of an uncurable illness in 1865. A few days before he died, he told his dad that he was afraid of death because he didn't want to be buried in the dark. So his parents honored his wish and put a window in his tomb. In 2006, a woman who had been missing for 3 years was found dead in her London flat, with the TV still running. In 2000, State found a caterpillar that looks like it has the image of a human face on its back. The internet is pretty sure it was the reincarnation of Edgar Allan Poe. Otters in the Amazon are apex predators that can grow up to 6 feet long. They have been known to prey on small anacondas and caimans when fish are unavailable. The giant groundsel is a prehistoric plant that is only found on top of Mount Kilimanjaro. For years, scientists didn't know what created various massive cave networks in South America. In 2010, they learned that the caves were actually tunnels dug by ancient giant ground sloths. Weird nature facts, part 17. Photographer Atif Saeed nearly got himself killed in order to capture this photo, which was taken just moments before the lion tried to attack him. He drove up to the lion, sat on the ground next to his car, and left the door open. The door being left open was the only reason he was able to escape unharmed. In case anyone is wondering what happened to the dinosaurs, here's what a baby blue heron looks like. The Bajau people of Southeast Asia are considered sea nomads. They have no homes, money, or nationalities, and they spend 60% of their time underwater. They can go spearfishing at depths greater than 200 feet without scuba gear or oxygen tanks. They've even developed much larger spleens than the average human thanks to evolution. Morbid Facts, Part 42. When 13-year-old Ryan White got AIDS from a blood donor in 1984, he was only given 6 months to live. Even though doctors said he posed no risk to other students, he was banned from returning to school by a petition signed by 117 parents. An auction was even held to raise funds to keep him out, and a local newspaper that supported him received death threats. The family was forced to leave town when a bullet was shot through the window of their home. Ryan outlived the doctor's diagnosis by 5 years, dying at the age of 19. Frank Goldsmith was a Titanic survivor who later lived near Tiger Stadium in Detroit. But he said he never took his children to a ball game because the roar of the crowd reminded him of the screams of people dying in the freezing waters. Morbid Facts, Part 55. In 1998, 2-year-old Harrison Johnson was stung 432 times after disturbing a yellow jacket's nest in Tampa, Florida. Harrison's parents asked for neighborhood children and local church members to pray for him, but they didn't call for medical help until he stopped breathing more than 7 hours later. The parents belong to a religion that looks down on hospitals because they believe that doctors practice witchcraft. Doctors say the little boy could have been saved, but likely died an exquisitely painful death as a result of his parents' negligence. Later. Morbid Facts, Part 48. Tom and Eileen Longergan were a young couple from Louisiana on a vacation in the Coral Sea off the coast of Australia. They were scuba diving with a large group in the open ocean and were accidentally left behind. By the time someone realized they were missing, it was too late, and the couple was never found. This is a series of cat paintings by famous artist Louis Wayne from the early 1900s. They capture a slow descent into the varying levels of his schizophrenic episodes. After watching a documentary about women being tortured and killed in a basement, Katrina McGaw realized she was actually living in the same apartment. In France, you can legally marry a dead person as long as you can prove that they planned on marrying you before they died. On June 11, 2019, Illinois teenager Riley Horner was accidentally kicked in the head. As a result of the injury, her memory resets every 2 hours and she wakes up every day thinking it's June 11th. Morbid Facts, Part 59. The suit worn by the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz was made out of real lion skin and fur. Several lions were killed in order to make the costume look as realistic as possible. In 2012, a woman from New York donated her kidney to save the life of her boss. The boss then fired her when she took too long to recover from the operation. A British Royal Marine had a leg tattoo of Liverpool's motto, "You'll never walk alone." But after a major injury in Afghanistan, his leg was amputated. The surgeon had to cut the tattoo so it now read, "You'll never walk." Morbid Facts, Part 46. In 1998, thinking it's June 11th,